begin tonight, keeping them honest, with the name that was not spoken in last night's State of the Union message, Jeffrey Epstein. That and the name that we learned today has turned up in FBI records missing from the Epstein files, Donald Trump. We know this because a numbered evidence log in the Ghislaine Maxwell case catalogs about 325 FBI witness interviews. But of that number, more than 90 do not appear to be present on the Justice Department's website. And 3 of those witness interviews are related to a woman who told agents that Jeffrey Epstein had repeatedly abused her, starting when she was approximately 13 years old. She also accused Trump of sexually assaulting her. Now, we should point out here, the president has consistently denied any wrongdoing in connection with Jeffrey Epstein, and the White House is calling the allegations, quote, false and sensationalist.
The documents related to her testimony with the FBI are not there. It's our question to the FBI and the DOJ is, why aren't the documents there? Why have they been removed? And Congress, under the Transparency Act and the subpoena, have a right to see them.
What's up? Adam is live. The cover-up just got exposed in the most devastating way possible. Trump's own Justice Department has been forced to admit something that changes everything about the Epstein scandal. They deliberately removed nearly 50,000 files from public access, 50,000 documents, 50,000 pieces of evidence, 50,000 files that mention Trump, that contain information about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein.
Newly released documents that were missing from the Epstein files contain serious, unverified allegations against President Trump. The Justice Department posted 3 FBI memos describing interviews with a woman who accuses both Jeffrey Epstein and President Trump of sexually assaulting her when she was a teenager. The White House calls the accusations completely baseless. CNN's Paula Reed is in Washington with the latest. And Paula, these were missing from earlier file releases, right?
That's right. And this individual was interviewed by the FBI 4 times. And initially, only 1 memo was released in that initial batch of documents released by the Justice Department. And that was an interview where she made allegations against Jeffrey Epstein, but not against President Trump. Now, yesterday, these additional summaries were released, and they detail the types of allegations that she made against President Trump, where she describes being introduced to him. She alleges that he asked everyone to leave the room and, quote, mentioned something to the effect of, quote, let's teach you how little girls are supposed to be, and then describes an encounter where he pushes her head down to his penis and then told agents she bit Trump, who then allegedly struck her and said something like, get this little expletive the hell out of here.
That document allegations so damaging that someone in power decided the American people couldn't see them. Let that sink in for a moment. Trump has spent years claiming the Epstein files would exonerate him. Trump has told anyone who would listen that the documents prove his innocence. Trump has insisted that he had nothing to do with Epstein's crimes, that their relationship was minimal, that he's been unfairly targeted by conspiracy theorists.
On Sunday, in the rocky state of New Mexico, activists gathered to demand an investigation into convicted sex offender, the late Jeffrey Epstein's ranch, which has not made any headlines as the island and other properties of the financier. Protesters gathered near the entrance of the Zorro Ranch, led by 2 brothers of Virginia Giuffre, one of the most prominent survivors of Epstein's sex abuse crimes. A caravan with the words "Release the files" was also seen at the location near Santa Fe, as activists and survivors allege that more files remain unreleased. Before dying by suicide in April last year.
But if the files really prove Trump's innocence, why did his own Justice Department hide them? Why did his own administration remove them from public access? Why did his own government suppress 50,000 documents that supposedly clear his name? The answer is obvious to anyone paying attention. Innocent people don't hide evidence. Innocent people don't remove files from public view. Innocent people don't suppress documents that would prove their innocence. They release them. They promote them. They put them front and center and say, look, here's the proof I did nothing wrong. Trump did the exact opposite. Trump's DOJ hid the files. Trump's government suppressed the evidence. Trump's administration engaged in a cover-up that has now been exposed for the entire world to see. The timing of this revelation makes it even more damning. The files were removed immediately after Trump's Senate acquittal, right when he thought he had escaped accountability forever. Right when he believed he could do anything without consequence. right when his administration felt most emboldened to operate without oversight. That's when they made their move. That's when they pulled nearly 50,000 documents from public access. That's when they tried to bury the truth forever. And what exactly was in those files? What was so damaging that Trump's own government felt compelled to hide it from the American people? The documents include FBI summaries from a woman who alleged that Trump and Epstein sexually abused her as a minor in the 1980s. Let me repeat that because the gravity of this allegation cannot be overstated. A woman came forward, filed a lawsuit, and alleged that Donald Trump sexually abused her when she was a child. The allegations were serious enough that Epstein's estate settled with her. The allegations were documented in FBI files. The allegations were deemed credible enough to pursue legal action, and Trump's DOJ tried to make all of that disappear. The woman who made these allegations didn't stay silent. She sued Epstein's estate seeking accountability. She wanted justice. She wanted her story to be known. She wanted the world to understand what happened to her, and she won a settlement because her allegations had legal weight. Her claims were substantial enough that the estate couldn't simply dismiss them. Her testimony mattered. Her voice deserved to be heard. But Trump's administration tried to silence her. They removed the files containing summaries of her allegations. They suppressed documents that documented her claims. They hid evidence that could corroborate her story. They did everything in their power to keep the American people from learning what she had to say. That's not just a cover-up. That's obstruction of justice. That's tampering with evidence. That's interfering with the public's right to know about credible allegations against a sitting president. The numbers are staggering. Over 47,000 files removed, more than 5,300 documents that already mentioned Trump in public records, and now, with this admission, all of it is coming back. All 47,000 files are scheduled for release by the end of the week. All the allegations, all the evidence, all the documentation that Trump tried to hide will soon be available for anyone to read. Congress is already in motion. Democrats are launching immediate investigations into who ordered the removal, why the suppression happened, and what Trump knew about it. These aren't partisan fishing expeditions. These are legitimate inquiries into potential obstruction of justice by a sitting president. When a chief executive's own Justice Department hides evidence of child sexual abuse allegations against that same executive, Congress has a constitutional duty to investigate. The victim who made these allegations deserves more than an investigation. She deserves accountability. She deserves to have her story heard. She deserves to know that her government won't protect the people who allegedly abused her. She deserves justice, not cover-ups. And the fact that Trump's DOJ tried to suppress her allegations suggests that someone in power understood exactly how damaging her testimony could be. Think about what this admission reveals about Trump's psychology. He could have released these files years ago. He could have said, "Here's everything, judge for yourself." He could have demonstrated confidence in his innocence. Instead, he hid them. Instead, he suppressed them. Instead, he tried to make 50,000 documents disappear from public view. That's not the behavior of an innocent man. That's the behavior of someone desperately trying to control a narrative that would destroy him if fully exposed. The friendly fire incident that killed 3 American pilots. The 12 American families grieving preventable deaths. The intelligence community confirming Trump exaggerated nuclear threats. The military leadership testifying about erratic war decisions. The collapsing MAGA coalition. The Pope's historic condemnation. And now this. 50,000 hidden Epstein files containing allegations of child sexual abuse against Trump himself. It's all converging. It's all building toward a moment of reckoning that Trump can no longer escape. When those files drop by the end of the week, the political landscape will shift permanently. Voters will read the allegations for themselves. Voters will see what Trump tried to hide. Voters will understand why the cover-up happened. And voters will make their own judgments about whether a president who suppresses evidence of child sexual abuse allegations should remain in power. The midterms are approaching, and this revelation changes everything. Democrats will campaign on protecting children and holding abusers accountable. They'll ask voters a simple question. Why did Trump hide 50,000 files containing allegations against himself? Why did his DOJ remove them? Why did his administration try to bury the truth? And voters, especially independents and suburban women who've already been fleeing the Republican Party, will have to answer that question in the voting booth. The legal consequences are equally severe. Federal prosecutors now have evidence of potential obstruction. They have documentation that Trump's DOJ removed files relevant to ongoing investigations. They have proof that a sitting president's administration tried to suppress evidence of child sexual abuse allegations. If criminal charges are appropriate anywhere in American jurisprudence, they're appropriate here. Trump could face prosecution not just for the underlying allegations, but for the cover-up itself. The victim who sued Epstein's estate won a measure of justice in civil court. But true justice requires accountability at every level. It requires that the president who allegedly abused her, and who certainly tried to hide evidence of that abuse, face consequences for his actions. It requires that the American people know the full truth about what happened. It requires that no one, no matter how powerful, can suppress evidence of crimes against children. 50,000 files. That's how many documents Trump tried to hide. That's how much evidence his administration removed from public access. That's how many pages of allegations, testimony, and documentation someone in power decided the American people shouldn't see. And now, because media outlets noticed the files were missing, because journalists asked questions, because the truth has a way of emerging no matter how hard powerful people try to bury it, those 50,000 files are coming back. Trump's shock admission isn't really an admission of guilt, not legally, not yet. But it's an admission that the cover-up existed. It's an admission that his DOJ removed documents. It's an admission that 50,000 files were hidden. And for millions of Americans watching this unfold, that admission is proof enough that Trump has something to hide. Innocent people don't hide 50,000 documents. Innocent people don't suppress evidence. Innocent people don't engage in cover-ups. The allegations in those files, the ones Trump tried so desperately to bury, will soon be public. The woman who accused Trump of abusing her as a child will finally have her day in the court of public opinion. The American people will read her story, see the FBI summaries, and make their own determination about what happened. And if enough Americans decide that the allegations are credible, if enough voters conclude that Trump has been hiding something monstrous, the political consequences will be devastating. Trump's presidency has survived impeachments, scandals, and controversies that would have ended any normal political career. But child sexual abuse allegations are different. They cut deeper. They trigger a primal revulsion that transcends partisanship. They make voters ask questions they've been avoiding. They force people to confront the possibility that the man they've been supporting might be something far worse than a corrupt politician. The release of these files by the end of the week will dominate every news cycle. It will be the subject of every conversation. It will be the question every candidate has to answer. And for Republicans running for office in 2026, that question will be, why did you support a president whose DOJ hid 50,000 files containing allegations of child sexual abuse? Why did you stay silent while evidence was suppressed? Why did you protect him instead of protecting victims? There's no good answer to those questions. There's no spin that makes covering up child sexual abuse allegations acceptable. There's no defense of Trump that doesn't require defending the cover-up. And as voters go to the polls, they'll remember that their choices have consequences. They'll remember that elections determine whether abusers are held accountable or protected. They'll remember that democracy requires citizens who pay attention and act on what they learn. 50,000 hidden files, allegations of child sexual abuse, a cover-up exposed, a president who tried to bury the truth. And now, by the end of the week, everything changes. The files are coming. The truth is coming. And Trump, for all his power and all his efforts to suppress evidence, can't stop it anymore. This is the moment that will determine everything. This is the revelation that could end Trump's presidency. This is the evidence that could send him to prison. And it's all happening because someone in his own administration got caught trying to hide 50,000 documents from the American people. The cover-up is over. The truth is coming. And Trump has nowhere left to run.